The Trump administration's war against animals continue, this time targeting endangered and threatened species. On Monday, the US Fish and Wildlife Service and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration announced they were pushing through changes to the Endangered Species Act that will, in effect, weaken protections for species and possibly give industry more leeway to develop areas where threatened animals live. So this, to me, reads like The Onion, but it's true, and they're doing it. They're coming after the ESA, the Endangered Species Act. And I want to give you a little bit of history on the act, what it's intended to do, and what the American people think about it so far. It was passed back in 1973, and since then it's been credited with helping the rebound of the bald eagle. Literally the bald eagle.
Boo, who needs it?
The grizzly bear, the humpback whale, and many other species living throughout the US. About 83% of Americans, including a large majority of conservatives, support the act. And according to the US Fish and Wildlife Service, the act has prevented the extinction of 99% of the species it protects. So it is successful, it is popular, and so obviously it must go.
If dogs were on the Endangered Species Act, Trump would be impeached.
Oh, you should watch this morning's The Damage Report. I went through all of the different dog metaphors he uses. He thinks that, I don't know what he thinks dogs are. The way he talks, people have been fired like dogs, choked like dogs, begged like dogs. They do beg, that's the only one.
Yeah. So look, I'm gonna have a surprisingly nuanced look at this. I'm gonna give you two parts of this that one that go in two different directions, and then I will get back to bald eagles and grizzly bears. On the one hand, one of the outrageous parts of this is they're saying that you should not take climate change into account when deciding if some species are endangered. What? Why not? Oh, you shouldn't listen to 99% of the world's scientists when we're trying to figure out a science problem. Like, what are we? Hey, we're gonna do math. I don't want any mathematicians in the room. Okay, see, yeah, then you might be a little bit against the math that's gonna and the results that you know is gonna come out. On the other hand, the current law does not allow you to reference possible economic or other impacts that the rules have. I don't think that makes sense. Now, do I trust the Trump administration to do that calculus right? Of like, they're like, oh, economic consideration. My buddies get to do drilling on public lands and it kills the grizzly bears. Well, I save $5, good enough for me, right? I know that they're not gonna do that right, but I don't think it's right to never consider economic considerations. What if saving one small species or the potential of saving one small species costs us $1 trillion?
Yeah, one small species, one stupid Lorax. You know, why should we consider these things?
No, I hear you, but I think that we should have the full range of considerations, economic and obviously environmental, scientific, and all of those. And by the way, it's not just about animals. If you're one of the few Americans who don't care about animals at all, and that really is a tiny minority, because people, like, you touch their dogs and you're done for, right? That's the third rail, right? If you talk about people's dogs. You can talk terrible stuff about people's families, themselves, their kids. That's all fine and fair game. Well, they shouldn't have brought the kids here, it's their fault. Yeah, that's right, we should crush the kids. But you talk about their dog, hey, not my dog, right? But it's not just about the animals, guys, it's also about us. If the bees go extinct, we're screwed. Now, look, the bees are not in imminent danger of extinction, but they're in a lot of danger overall. We have massive problems with the bees, but the problem is talking to people who aren't smart. So you talk to the right wing, it's what do I care about the bees? Well, how do I help you if you're an idiot and you don't understand how science works, life works, biology works, and how we're all connected? And if the bees don't spread the pollen, we're all screwed. What do I care about bees? We're not talking the same language. So for example, look, now back to the animals. I think if you told people about, hey, do you want the bald eagles to be extinct? They'd be like, hell no, that's the symbol of American pride, et cetera. Grizzly bears, no. I'm sure they'd be shocked that there's even a possibility. But look, John already gave you the numbers, it's not complicated. 83%, they don't even know the specific animals support this law. He's gonna go against it anyway. But when you talk about, for example, the new ones that are potentially on the extinct species list could go on it. Polar bears, people are like, no, that's in Coke ads. I like polar bears, I don't want them going extinct. Seals, I know seals, no. Whooping cranes, guaranteed the right wing we'll take whooping cranes out of the list. You'll see it later. Oh yeah, the libs want to protect whooping cranes. They're costing your jobs because of whooping cranes. Like, I know because I already saw this movie. When it was a caribou that was in trouble, they're like, caribou.
I don't know that movie actually.
Yeah, no, not the movie.
Oh, okay. It's like, is that a movie? I guess.
No, I remember Rush Limbaugh talking about, oh, they care about the caribou, right?
Yeah.
By the way, if you just called them deer, they'd be like, whoa, that's Bambi. No, we got to protect the deer. So I don't know, maybe we just dumb it down so that the right wing can understand it. Trump is gonna go after Bambi.
Yeah. This is a great example of where we have gotten into a position where there are people, there are passionate environmentalists, passionate pro-animal people. We feature them on the Damage Report all the time. But it's not a mainstream position, and neither of the two parties has really taken it seriously at all. Even after like portions of the Green Movement were incorporated in the Democratic Party, it hasn't been pushed. Where now, like the centrist position is defending the ESA, which is legislation from more than 50 years ago. That's not like, yay, let's save the ESA. The ESA should be the ground floor that we build far more bold proposals based on. I don't want to just stop them from expanding the areas that can be infringed by corporations. I would make massive national parks throughout the US. I would blanket it with new trees to help absorb some of the carbon and help mitigate some of the effects of climate change. I would go way, you wouldn't even be able to see the ESA from where I would end up if I was in charge of the legislation. But nobody has really been pushing for anything on top of the ESA for literally decades, in elected government at the very least. And so that's where we are, where we've just been hanging on to these vestiges of the environmental movement from half a century ago. And now the right wingers have taken over and they get to shred it in the pursuit of corporate profits.
So last thing on this is important context. You know who passed the Endangered Species Act back in 1973? Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
Now, Richard Nixon was a little right of Attila the Hun. So why did he pass it? He also founded the Environmental Protection Agency. Was he a huge environmentalist? No, he hated environmentalists. He did it because back then progressives were so strong that we bent Nixon to our will. He was afraid of, you know who he was really afraid of? Ralph Nader. I'm not kidding. Look it up.
Yeah.
So that's why he did OSHA to protect American workers and their safety because of Nader's raiders. Now, why were progressives so strong back then? And now since then, as John pointed out, we haven't been able to add on to it at all. And we've been going constantly playing defense and going backwards. Because in 1976 and 1978, the Supreme Court said corporations can give money to politicians. And then we were done for. It's the corruption, stupid. That's the answer. Why would someone take away a law or damage a law that 83% of Americans are in favor of in a democracy? Because we don't have one. It's the corruption, stupid. They bought off all of our politicians because of those two Supreme Court cases. You've got to amend the Constitution to go above the Supreme Court. Wolf-pack.com. Well, hey, you made it this far. You must really like the Young Turks. Thank you. We really appreciate you. Now, another easy way to keep supporting us also helps keep your internet activities and data private, all with a push of the NordVPN app. Head to nordvpn.com/TYT right now for 75% off of your next 3 years.